You're gonna like this
Okay.
because just like last month's gates all were like touring around the spleen, right?
For
And we
spooky season.
yeah, we had all those intuition gates and everything. This month we are
What are we
really in a
touring?
lot of well, individual circuitry, a lot of it. Human design reveals who you are energetically and who you came here to be. I'm Dana, your human design guide.
And I'm Haley on this journey with you to uncover the power of human design.
Together, we're here to explore how embracing your authentic self is the ultimate path to a life of more freedom and fulfillment.
Welcome to the Human Design Hive podcast. Let's get into it.
Well, hello, Haley. How you doing?
Hey.
And good to see you today.
Mhm,
Good to see
mhm.
you, and thank y'all for being here. I am Dana Phillips. You are.
Hailing grooms.
Grooves. Well, I always forget. We never introduce ourselves when we come on, and I think we sound different. I think we
hmm
obviously sound different. We have different voices, but I have been just kind of going around sampling different podcasts, and I've found a few that I like that have two hosts, or
hmm
two is about all I can listen to, except for Smartless because I haven't listened to that in a long time, but I know all their voices. But I was listening to one, and the two women, I was enjoying the conversation, but I was losing track of who was who
hmm
because I hadn't listened to it enough. So it was helpful for them. They said their names to each other every now and then, which is helpful. But um, I think we sound different enough. And I'm the one that's always talking. They're like, it all sounds like me. I'm sorry. But yes, so I am Dana. You are,
Hey, I'm Haley.
you are Haley. And we're glad you're here. Yeah, so we were just catching up a little bit before we came on, but we thought we would talk about it here on the podcast because I think it's kind of relevant. That
hmm
as we mentioned last week, I don't do the best at planning ahead at recording because I'm responding to things. I have to
hmm
let things come up. But I think it was last week I had texted you about recording when you would be
hmm
available. I mean, generally our schedules pretty much jive. We know when each other, but you might have something going on. And
Yeah.
then you told me this was last weekend, was the weekend of the race you had been training for,
hmm
correct?
Yes.
And then what? You said you weren't sure.
I said I wasn't sure if I would be running it
Hmm.
because I wasn't feeling 100%.
Right.
hmm
And why don't you walk us through that decision and how it came about and what you ended up doing?
Okay. So I mean, it was it was like a weird spot that I was in because
Oh wait, first
I
of all, tell them what the race was and what.
oh yeah, I had been training for a 25K trail run, which is like a little over 15 miles. So,
All at
which is
once.
the most I would have ever run.
Yeah.
But so like we in the so that was supposed to be on October 19th.
Hmm.
And the Saturday before that, kind of the weekend before that, we had been in Idaho for a friend's wedding.
Hmm.
And so I think, a couple days after we had gotten back, we got back on Sunday. A couple days after that, I just kind of wasn't feeling like great. Like I wasn't feeling like I couldn't get out of bed sick, but like I had like a sore throat for a day or two, and then like a little bit of a cough and just some
Hmm.
like congestion. And so like I I knew that if I did the race, it would absolutely wreck me.
Hmm.
Like I probably would have been in the bed sick for a while.
Hmm.
So I decided not to run it. And I told you in the text, I was like, I'm trying to be good and listen to my body.
That's right. Because if this is your first foray into our world, Haley is a splenic projector.
hmm
She is connected to the root, so she does have some energy in her system, And like you said, you've been training for this race out running, maybe not
Mhm.
every day, but you gotten up to what, 8 miles at once? Was
Yep,
that your
my
most?
longest run was a 8-mile run.
Yeah. And you're,
That's wild for me.
I know. And like I said, there's always, I think, a little bit of a misconception around projectors that they
Mhm.
can't do these really active things. You obviously can. You were the most athletic person in the family when you were younger,
Mhm.
playing sports and stuff. But yeah, I thought it was a really great example of one being a projector and starting since you've been kind of exploring that or living that way of understanding. I mean, do you notice on a weekly basis or monthly, are you noticing energy like can you tell as like your projectorness like when you're getting to the point of doing too much? Does that ever come up?
Not like
Cuz you don't do a
in
whole lot.
yeah. I was gonna say not anything recently, but it's almost more I can kind of and I think this is what it is. I think I can know when I have connection to sacral through some kind of transit
Oh.
because I notice that difference in energy. But I don't ever like I know our sun transits, but like
Mhm.
other planets I don't know exactly. But
Mm.
it does feel like I think sometimes I'm like, okay, I think this is actually sacral energy that I'm tapping into.
And not like root energy, does it feel a little different?
Yes, yeah, because root energy is for me at least is more of like a focusing energy.
Hmm.
Um, and and if I am using it correctly, if not, then it feels more of like a fidgety energy.
Mhm.
But with when I think I'm connecting to sacral energy, it just feels more like I need to move.
I get this done. What can we do next? That's interesting. But so yeah, so it was honoring your energy as far as a projector, but I also thought it was interesting how we talk about splenic authority and
Mhm.
how it is just kind of a knowing, a intuitive hit. It won't necessarily repeat itself. It'll just kind of let you know what you should be doing. And it can cause you to change your mind quite frequently.
Mhm.
And in the instance of when you signed up, I know you've kind of like back and forth a little bit, like maybe I
Mhm.
should do it, maybe I won't, but you kept training at least for it. You would
Yeah.
at
And I
least
mean,
decide
even
that
towards
day.
the once I had done like because I did a 6 mile run and on my long run, and then the week after that I did an 8 mile run. Like after I had done those two runs, I was excited to do, and those were in the couple weeks leading up to my race.
Mhm.
I was excited to do my race because like I did feel like I could do it, and like I'd finally figured out how to really fuel for the run and all of that. So like
Fuel for the
I
run?
yeah
Fuel? What's that mean?
fuel
Like
making
during the
like
run or?
well kind of before and during
Hmm.
um eating gels during, which are
How about, let's
some
just
of them
say
are not bad.
ingesting gels. Let's not call that eating. I guess that's why they call it fueling and not eating.
Yeah. So I
What's
was
in those
actually
what's in those
excited.
gels?
Well, the one that we have the most is it's from VPN and it's an apple cinnamon. So it's
Sorry, I can't
basically a
see
real
my
thick
face.
applesauce.
I'm like, "Oh."
It is actually pretty
You
tasty,
know what it
that
reminds
one.
me of? You see all those videos lately of all the people, for some reason now it's a thing to give your cat a treat out of a little squeeze tube of
Oh yeah.
goo.
Yeah, it's
You're
kind of
like
the
a
same
cat.
thing. But it for me it was in I was in like a weird spot with the decision not to do the race because it was like I didn't feel good, so I was sick, but also at the same time, I felt like I wasn't sick enough to not do it.
Mm,
But I knew
mm,
that if I did, I
that's
would be sick.
I think that I think that is also a defined spleen thing because with the defined spleen do tend to have a more robust immune system and can kind of push through. But also, like you said before, when you've pushed through before, you've gotten like majorly sick.
Mhm.
And same thing, there's a lot of times defined spleens will just kind of brush it aside, like you just said. I kind of feel a little sick, but not like sick enough to call myself sick.
Mhm.
Whereas you probably should have just like the first time listened to that, which is something I'm still playing around with too on days like when you feel more tired or something like that. And you're like, well, I don't have the right to be tired because what have I done? Or I've got to get this done or that done. So yeah, so I understand that feeling
Mhm.
of guilt. And then of course the head gets in the way and is saying, "How long have you known about this? How long ago did you sign up?"
Mm, June maybe?
And I just want to say that if you guys don't know Haley, I mean, obviously I know her very well. That was a really big deal in my book for you to not do it because you generally have been someone that if you signed up for something, you were sticking to it, right? Like if you, for the most part, from what I remember, like you've always had your own inner drive and your own
Mhm.
inner motivation to do things. And so usually, even though you have that undefined will center, you do tend to achieve goals that you set for yourself. And there's also the added pressure of your husband having just run a 50K. And I know you said that weighed into your decision. You were worried about what he was going to say.
Mhm. That was mine getting in there.
Yeah. And his reaction was,
He was like, "Okay." I was like, "Okay."
I know. Gosh, I tell you, how often do we do that? I do that all the time with your dad.
Mhm.
We will do these things, we'll create these stories, don't want to have the conversations, or we make a decision for ourselves that we think the other person's going to be upset about. And then they're like, big deal. And it's like, oh, so all that stuff I was just projecting onto you, that was just me.
Yeah.
There you go. Quite
Mhm.
often it is. But anyway, so I just thought that was a good teaching moment for everybody, for especially projectors understanding their energy. And like I said, as yourself, as somebody who's really doing pretty good finding that balance and hasn't taken you very long to tap into it either. I mean, I know we've been doing this podcast for a little over 2 years, but you've been really since we started, really just kind of as you learned and started pulling up or integrating more of these things we talk about, I think you've definitely um, been living in your design and your projectorness. So, gold star.
Yay.
Know the way to your heart. Okay, so let's transition to today's topic at hand, which is everybody's favorite, the sun transits. And
Mhm.
every month we do this. We are looking at the transits of the sun through the human design mandala because every 6 days or so, the sun will move into a new gate, a new theme,
Mhm.
and it'll stay there for 6-ish days. And as a disclaimer, I'm giving you dates roundabout, not always exactly on that day. It might have happened in the wee morning hours the day before or the middle of the day. So the thing that we use that tells us when it's transiting, these are general
It's
dates.
just saying that at some point during this day, we
Mhm.
move into this gate.
That's right. But if you want to know exactly when, you can get on my email list or follow me on Instagram. But that's where I really try to pinpoint the time. I mean, I won't give you the exact clock time, but it'll be close enough. But anyways, so we look at these transits. Why, Haley? You thought you were on easy street. You're like, oh shit, she's throwing the ball over in my court.
Why? Okay. So we focus on the sun.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously there's lots of planets that will transit through.
Mm-hmm.
But we focus on the sun because, well, it's pretty dang big, and
Mm-hmm.
for being so big, it is quite close.
Mm-hmm.
And I forget what the sun means in our chart per se, because I
Mm-hmm.
was gonna throw that in there, but I forget.
Well, the chart, I mean, the sun in your human design chart, astrological chart, like it is your main expression that
There it
you
is.
bring into this world. It is what you shine, radiate out into the world, just like the sun does. And so it does constitute a large part of your design. The other aspect of it is that everybody on the planet is going to be experiencing the sun transit, meaning it has. I mean, they're experiencing the other transits too, like you said.
Mhm.
But um, the sun has such a huge influence on us because the human design system talks about the neutrinos are the teeny infinitesimally small particles in our universe that are always passing through us, and the stardust, if you want to think about it in that way, that imprints on us when we're born. And since you said the sun is so big, it's our star, it's so close, a lot
Mhm.
of those neutrinos impact us. As such, also on these days, everybody's experiencing that intensity of not like. And
Mhm.
so we decided just to do the sun and no other planets one because I'm not an astrologist. I'd love to find someone that would want to come on the podcast and talk about all the transits. I haven't yet. But also just because it's really been our way to go deeper on each gate and learn about the
Mhm.
gates and the energies that it brings. And I've been learning a lot over this last year. I don't know about you,
Yeah.
but I've really been digging into these gates. So this month, November, guess what? We move in to the fourth quarter of the year. You knew it had to be
Ooh.
coming, right? I mean, when I say
Obvi.
fourth quarter of the human design year, obviously it's not
Yes.
the Western calendar, whatever. What's the calendar? Gregorian
Gregorian.
calendar. No, it's the fourth quarter of the human design year,
Mhm.
which starts with gate one.
Okay.
I know you like to boggle your mind a little bit when things don't make sense, but you know, it doesn't start. The human design year doesn't start on gate one. But
I know.
you're gonna like this though. You're gonna like this
Okay.
because just like last month's gates all were like touring around the spleen,
Mhm.
right?
For
And we
spooky season.
yeah, we had all those intuition gates and everything. This month we are
What are we
really in a
touring?
lot of, well, individual circuitry, a lot of it. A lot
Boo.
of
I kid, I kid. That just
Sure.
means I won't have a lot of these.
I think you have two of these. I think you do. I
Mhm.
think you do. We'll find out. You're gonna tell me I can't open up the I can't open up the
All
internet
right, I
on my
have my chart
computer while
open.
we record. It'll just crash everything. No, so we start in gate one on November 5th, around November 5th. And so the fourth quarter of the human design year is
Mhm.
called mutation.
Mhm.
And so it makes sense that as we start this quarter, we're going through a lot of individual gates because individual
Yeah.
circuitry is about mutation, right?
Mutation. Mhm.
Because if you think about the collective, well, if you think about the circuitries, the individual, tribal, collective, change usually starts at the individual level because the
Mhm.
collective doesn't just all of a sudden decide to change.
No.
And
No.
tribes and big collectives are very suspicious of individuals and change. They kind of like the status quo. But this month is about mutation and individuality. The theme in the quarter of mutation is about purpose fulfilled through transformation.
Mhm.
Um, Seems apt to me in November. I because it's also Scorpio season, and
Mhm.
Scorpio is also all about death, rebirth, transformation, mutation, all that stuff. So, gate one. Do you know anything about gate one, Haley? How about this?
I know it's in the G center.
You go, girl. Um, Gate one is in traditional human design called self expression.
Mhm.
In the I Ching, it's called the creative. And in quantum, it's called purpose.
Okay.
And gate one is that creative spark.
Yes, I
Uh,
do remember that.
yeah. I mean, you could kind of tell self expression, the creative.
Mhm.
That's really what it's about. It's about the individual in the world expressing itself, what makes an individual. What's interesting is that when they talk about gate one or hexagram one, this is the most yang gate in the system. It's the meaning masculine. It's like the pinnacle of masculine energy. And the hexagram for this one is six just unbroken lines, is called. Like,
Mm.
so, they have the six lines.
Mhm.
They're either broken or unbroken. The broken
It
ones,
kind of reminds me of Morse code in a way.
yeah. The broken ones are more feminine, more yin, and the unbroken
Why?
ones
Cuz
are
we're
masculine.
broken.
No, it's open to receive. That's the more feminine energy, is a more receiving energy, but
Mhm.
less force. And so I think it's important to, as we talk about this individual nature of this gate, to remember that uh, we're all born with this energy. We all have all of these energies in us as human beings. It's whether or not we have it consistently or not, right? Whether it's
Mhm.
something that we are learning from others or others are going to be learning from us. So if you have this in your chart, you are perceived by others as a more creative individual because your energy kind of attracts that attention because it is very much the individual and what they have to contribute and offer. Um, it emphasizes, obviously, you can see it in the name, self expression, creativity, and really authenticity in the individual. There's very much an energy of the creative individual, someone who's like, I have to do my thing. I have to do it my way. This is how I
Mhm.
do it. Doesn't really matter how everybody else has done it. This is how I do it. And so when I see this in a chart, I know that this person has some kind of creative expression that's usually a part of their lives. They may not always see it, right? It may not
Mhm.
be like, oh, I'm a writer, I'm an artist, or anything like that. But generally, the more I talk to them, you can see where they have a very creative individual nature about them because it's straight up the middle of that chart. It's
Mhm.
the 1/8, the channel that it's a part of is called inspiration. And so the 8 is in the throat, and so it's help getting that creative expression out into the world.
Mhm.
And so if you don't have the full channel, you just have the one, a lot of times you may struggle with that and may always be looking for someone else to help promote your creativity and what it is that you do. But really, this energy is about doing things in a different way, connecting with your own authentic uh, like flow and the way you do things and the way you want to do things, and embracing being different because this is where change, like we said, can come forth, is through
Mhm.
doing things in a new and different way. And I would also like to point out, as I was putting this episode together, one of the books that I reference a lot is by Richard Rudd, who also did the Gene Keys, but his book about gates and channels, because he does nice little short synopses, but he also gives a lot of other information there. But I noticed that each of these gates, he said, and this would just be in the traditional human design framework, that these are gates of melancholy, and
Mm.
which makes sense because they're all individual gates, and individual circuitry inherently carries a lot of melancholy, which, we use that word a lot. And sometimes I have to like look it up again, like, what is melancholy? And it can be anywhere from like, oh, you're just a little sad, to some people are like, it is a feeling of despair. But it is kind of
It's Eeyore.
I think, yeah, it's kind of a sad, lonely feeling. It's just kind of like bummed out, dull, melancholy, a little depressed feeling. And I
Mhm.
think that comes from being different and feeling different. And if it's in the emotional wave, if you have those individual waves, it's cycling through that emotional energy. But for the most part, I think it's just this inherent feeling of like feeling so in your individual process, like especially if you have a defined G center, especially if it was defined through this gate or whatever, this channel, it's not something you really change about yourself. Like you're not changing all the time. You're not, I mean, you can, but you're not like a chameleon or anything. Like you have a within you a sense of individuality that is kind of a bit pervasive and makes you feel like you don't fit in. And
Mhm.
that can make you feel sad because there's also, especially if you have a mix in your chart, which we all do have a mix of all this different circuitry, with tribal energy. Like mine's like largely individual because as we went through last week and this month, I have three out of these five gates. I don't have the one, but I have the other end. I have the eight.
I thought you had the 8.
Yeah, I do have the eight, and it's my conscious earth. So
Mm.
that's also tied to individual expression, and because it is giving voice to the individual. But where was I going with that? Oh, if you have a mix of circuitry, which I do, I am largely individual, but I have like my emotional wave is tribal. So there is this really a large part of me that is quite okay being alone and likes her alone time, craves it, needs it. And as we talk about a couple of these other gates, you'll see why. But I also need to belong to my tribe and my people. And I got to keep in touch with
Mhm.
you and know that everything's okay there. Like relationships are really important too. So,
Mhm.
anyways, talking about me. So, the gate of melancholy here, like the theme here is this
It's
eh,
not the gate
not
of
a fear.
melancholy.
It is a gate of melancholy.
Okay,
It
you
carries
said the
melancholy.
gate.
It is a gate of melancholy. All of these ones carry a little bit of melancholy in them. And it's really the melancholy, sadness of not being seen as different or unique,
Oh.
which is interesting. Be like, "Oh, I'm different. I know I'm different. You don't want to be like everybody else. It doesn't seem like everybody else. And if you aren't uh, living out the higher, I guess I could say, expression of this gate, you could be doing things more that other people want. Or let's just say this, maybe you don't even know this about your design, right? And
Mhm.
so, because I always forget about that part, is that a lot of people don't know this, don't know about human design, and they don't know these things about themselves and what gates they carry. And I've been uh, embroiled in this for so long that I forget that sometimes. But true, like if you had this sense about you that, which a lot of people that come to me do have this feeling that they have been living their lives according to other people's rules or other
Mhm.
people's expectations or what society wanted from them, and they've lost touch with this individual nature. Like I said, we're all born with it. We have it, but especially if it's not defined in you, it would be a lot easier to also lose touch with it. But
Mhm.
so that looks like if you have been denying that part of yourself, you may have a tendency to try and escape this melancholy, this feeling of not being yourself, escaping through maybe using different substances or shopping. That was a big one. I used to try to shop a lot, not try to shop. I was mindlessly shopping when you guys were little. It's just like, I need to
Shiny
get out of
thing.
the house. We all need to go to Target, right? We all need to get the,
Mhm.
oh, how many little like figurines or
Yeah.
candle holders like from Pier 1 or several Buddhas and all these little things around those. Over the years, I've just slowly gotten rid of a lot of them and I've gotten a lot more minimal. But yeah,
Mhm.
there was a time where I was like, you need new clothes, you need new this, you need new that, just because you're bored or
Mhm.
you're trying to fill this void of not expressing yourself creatively or individually. So that could leave you a little uninspired, unmotivated, anxious, depressed. You try to escape those tendencies. So during this time, this is going to be a very creative time, this first part of November. Like I said, it starts on November 5th to really look at your own life, even if you don't have it defined, but really think about, are you honoring that part of yourself, your individuality that's looking to be expressed. And it doesn't have to be like something that goes out into the world, like, look at me and show everybody. We all think, well, that means I have to like be a writer, make music or poetry or whatever. But like you do lots of creative things that
Mhm.
never really have a quote unquote purpose. You know what I mean? Like it's just you enjoy doing them. What you got?
My
Oh, look
little
at that
shark.
shark. Little crochet shark. That is hard to say. Crochet
Crochet shark.
shark. Crochet shark. It's like tempered glass. Um, inside joke, sorry. Uh, I have been coloring a lot lately. I mean, for
I'm sorry, I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at the way you said that. It was so
coloring,
slow.
I am coloring. I am. And it's been fun. Like some days I'll start, I got these great alcohol markers, they're called alcohol
Mhm.
ink. And my friend Tora has been creating these mandalas and she's putting together a coloring book. And I have been like coloring one almost
Oh.
every day. I start off, I can't wait till she's ready to launch this coloring book because I will be sharing like all my colorings, all my coloring. That's not right. All my, because I didn't create them, I'm just coloring. And it's literally just something I do sometimes in the morning just because I have a cup of coffee and sit down and color
Mhm.
and get to pick the colors and do stuff. Another thing that I think I do creatively is cooking. I love to cook, decorating your house, or maybe even styling your wardrobe. Any of these things that make you feel more creative and you're bringing more beauty in, that energy as well too. So asking yourself during this time, what is it that is in your heart? Because it's a G center gate that you want to create or bring into the world. What could happen if you trusted these stirrings in your heart, your dreams, your imagination, your creative energy? Um, what kind of creative activities do you like doing, and why? When do you feel most connected to your true self? And what actions can you take day to day that can align you more with your passions and what is within your heart, which wants to come out? And also, on the flip side of that, also look at what narratives, what kind of internal stories you may be telling yourself that is limiting your creative potential about, like, well, I can't do that because so and so will think this, or I don't have
Mhm.
time for it, or it's not
Or
important.
what am I gonna do with this?
Yes, this is a waste of time. I know a lot of people feel that one. It's a waste of time, or this isn't a, oh my God, I used to hear this a lot. If it's not an income producing activity, it doesn't hold value. I'm sure your husband.
I don't think he's exactly said those words to me, but I think he's thought them.
That goes back to my network marketing days. What are some income producing activities? I was always like, okay. But anyways, so that's gate one. Any thoughts on that?
Interesting enough, that does it starts on election day.
Oh,
Yeah. I looked that up.
hey, use your individual voice and go vote. I'm going to vote
Here we go.
early. I've decided already. It started
Yeah.
this week, and I just don't even want to deal with it. The polls. You said you guys have all mail-in ballots, right?
Yep. Colorado does mail in. Well, at
Yeah.
least our county does mail in ballots.
What's today? Today's the 23rd. I think I saw a
Yes.
statistic that said already something like 23 million Americans have already voted early. So, yay.
Mm.
I had someone ask me the other day, why do we need to vote? What's with all this voting early and everything else? I said, because it shouldn't be just one day. It should
Yeah.
not be just one day. That
It's
all
it's a lot of
330
pressure to get
million people,
everything counted.
well, you could never get it counted in one day either, but, it's just the fact it's on a Tuesday. It's only one day.
Some people cannot get off work to go vote.
And it may have been designed that way, but anyway, so I feel it's a lot more fair, a lot more access to voting, and we will just leave it there. Yes, exercise your individual voice on that day. Go vote. Okay, so
Yes.
I like the date of this next gate. I'm sure everybody else will too. 11/11. On
Oh,
11/11, we move into, drumroll please, gate 43. How fitting.
damn it. I was hoping it'd be 11. Gate 43.
Hmm. You have it, don't
Um,
you? Or do you have 23? You have 43?
hold on, I can't find it.
Oh, it's in the ajna reaching. It's individual. It's straight up the channel from
Oh,
one.
I have 43.
Yeah, where is it in your chart?
It is unconscious south
You,
node. One, two, three. Third one down from the south node. So it's the south node and then the moon and then something and then my 43.
I think that's Venus. Let me see if I can find
I
it.
are these the planets in order? Moon,
Yes.
Mercury,
Well,
Venus,
actually, yeah. Mercury, Venus, Mars, uh, Jupiter,
except for Earth, because
Earth.
Earth
Yeah.
is up at the top. Mivaka, Mivaka,
Oh, here she goes.
Maria, Juliet. Now that oh, Pluto, forget.
Yeah. In astrology, Pluto is still a planet.
It's in Spanish.
So is it the circle with the cross at the bottom?
Yes.
Yeah, that's Venus.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Values. Venus values. Okay, so 43 connects to the 23
Mm-hmm.
through the channel of structuring there in the throat. If you have this channel, you are someone who is designed to speak your mind, what you're
Mm-hmm.
thinking. So in traditional human design, gate 43 is called insight. In the I Ching, it's called breakthrough. And in quantum, she calls it also insight. And so, as you
Okay.
can imagine, there's a lot of insight here. It's these
Mm-hmm.
breakthroughs. It is really those aha light bulb moments in a way. And so, what this gate's really known for is it starts up in the 6124.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the individual knowing circuitry starts. And so, this is knowingness. We've talked about it a lot. It's not logic, it's not experience, it just is, right? And
Mm-hmm.
this gate in particular is taking these inspirations, these possibilities, this information from the ethers, whatever you want to gather it, whatever you want to call it, and trying to bring it into language. And so that is not a process that can be measured. It can't be counted on to happen at a certain time. It literally will just, you have create a breakthrough. There will just be a breakthrough moment where you're
Mm-hmm.
suddenly like, oh, I get it. Okay. All right. I think I understand it now.
I actually had one of those today.
Oh, yeah. What was yours?
Mm-hmm. So there it was something with work that I had spent all morning trying to figure out. It's this stupid tax thing, so it just sucks all around. But
Mm-hmm.
it's something that I have to have done by Friday. But I was like trying to figure out what the numbers that I needed. And so, like, I'd gotten to this point and I had an understanding of some of it. And then there was one number that I still was like kind of confused about. I wasn't quite sure, like, why I still had it or what it was meaning really. And then took the dog for a walk and she was sniffing. And I was like, oh, if I take that number and add it to that number, then that gets me to the number that I need, and then I'll have everything I need. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, look at
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. This literally like Einstein and the theory of relativity and like all the stuff, how it comes about in the shower. Oh, wait. Now I get it. And I had the same I mean, I think it happens to me on the regular. I think it happens when I'm on this podcast, when I'm talking to people. It happens all the time where I won't, because I have the full channel, I don't know what's going to come through a lot of times. I might have what I think is an understanding of something, but when I speak, it can come through on its own in a way. And it used to be something that tripped me up a little bit because I would worry about, well, I still do it, saying all the time, does that make sense? Or worry about something doesn't make sense. But I used to hold back on it more. But now I understand that if I could just let people know, like, wait, this is just kind of the process. I'm looking for the words because one of my teachers, Karen Curry Parker, said a lot of times what you're trying to convey hasn't necessarily had language yet because it is just like a knowingness and it can just come through. So really your mouth is kind of slower than
Mm.
the mind most of the
Mhm.
time. And it just sometimes I just got to garble it up and eventually I'll get to what I'm talking about like right now. But yeah, I had that breakthrough the other day when it was something I was working on my website cuz I'm transitioning from one website to another platform and I have been struggling with one aspect of like, well, how do I build a new one while I have the old one that is still functioning because I don't want to lose the functionality of my old
Mhm.
website, but I'm doing this new builder and it's completely different platforms and everything. I'm learning a whole nother language.
Mm. Mhm.
But what happened was I ended up doing it for your dad's business, the Traveling Oyster Co. business.
Mhm.
He had a very simple one-page website. It was just taking all the copy from one, putting on the other, putting pictures and all other stuff. And so it was about domain transfer and all this other stuff I won't bore you with. But sure enough, once I did his, then I was literally, I think it was as I was waking up in the morning or going to bed. I don't remember. It was just random. All of a sudden, I was like, whoa, I figured it out. I was like, wait a minute. I can just do exactly what I did with
Mhm.
his, which was still use my domain name. Like it's a technicality, it's redirects, it's all this other stuff, but it was really simple. But you kind of have to walk away from it. You have to understand that the more you try to figure something out, the more you try to get to
Mhm.
to get to the insight, almost the more elusive it's going to be.
Yeah, it's like it's a cat. It's like a cat. You have to let it come to you.
Pretend you don't even care. I don't care if you're here or not. It's right. It's like a cat. And so, with that being said, this gate does rely on, if you have this gate, a little more alone time, quiet time, kind of filtering out outside influences so you can kind of create that inner space for the insights to drop in. It's probably It's funny. You'll appreciate this because I've
Mhm.
said it about myself, and now you know that you have this gate as well. I mean, I think you knew, but now you really know, so
I
we're
always
talking about
forget.
it. It's one of the gates of deafness, they say, which meaning you're not actually deaf, but it can appear as if you are not listening to people at all, especially with your defined head and ajna. You probably are tuning people out a lot because all those voices in your head are like very busy. But so you can have difficulty listening to others, but it's a protection really of the energy of this gate because you're meant to be the one that is
Yeah.
influencing in that way, and too much outside influence can kind of skew the results there in a way, put a little pressure on it.
I will
um
say the only time that isn't true is if I'm out at a restaurant or I'm out in public and I'm like listening to other people's conversation.
that's called nosy. No, I do. I do it
No,
too.
sometimes it's so bad. Even when Presley's trying to talk to me, I'm like staring at him, but I'm listening to the conversation next to me, and I was like, I have to focus on Presley.
Yeah, it happens. And
It's a
that's
certain type
also,
of deafness.
yeah, that's also why I do the same thing. I mean, I'm just curious by nature. I want to, I mean, there are certain people that just are not aware that they're in public and they
Oh
are just
God.
so loud anyhow. It's their fault we're listening.
Hmm.
Don't be so private. I like the girls that were planning the birthday party for their dog. That was the one you,
Yes. I was like live texting the family group chat about it.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, she was going all out. She was buying decorations, costumes. It was a whole deal.
God bless. But anyway, so this, as you said, this channel, Genius to Freak, obviously there's a lot of timing there with sharing your ideas and your insights. There could be a lot of wounding around having shared your insights before and not being received well because it wasn't the right time. You did not necessarily wait for someone to ask you for those opinions. So there is a lot of timing there. And so that melancholy associated with this gate is it says it's a melancholy over inefficiency.
Mm.
Could maul that around a little bit of like, well, not really getting to it, kind of wasting your time, not being very efficient. What do you think?
Yeah, I can see it because I mean, melancholy is just like the downness, so you could feel
Hmm.
like maybe almost defeated when things are
Hmm.
inefficient because
Well, it
you're,
says also this gate's efficient in conveying these creative insights. Like
yeah.
it can, because the 23 is assimilation, it is simplifying those ideas so that it can be received. And
Mm-hmm.
so I guess it can worry that it's too complicated or people won't understand it. You can't, especially if you don't have gate 23, convey the weird thoughts in your head.
Yes.
Yes. Did you say that was on your conscious or unconscious side?
uh, Unconscious.
Oh, even worse. So that does also carry, there is a fear of rejection inherent in this gate as well.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, I can attest to that of many a years feeling a little odd out of place, but I'm okay with that now. So really when you're not living in the highest expression of this, more of a shadow side of it, you could be a little disconnected from your own inner guidance and your own intuition, looking for more outside validation than listening to your own inner voice. And that is that inner ear of listening. It's part of that, of being able to tune into those elusive kind of thoughts. I don't know if that's the right way to say it. It can
Whispers.
be, you can be a little overwhelmed by too much from the outer world. And you may have, and this could be something I think people are more used to experiencing, having these kind of really breakthrough insights in the sense of thinking of things in a new way and really like, wow, that's different. Where that come, but then being afraid to act on it or to have the faith and the trust in that. So like the more, especially if you have this gate that you can cultivate time where you are kind of away from other people so you can learn to get in touch with those thoughts or just give them time to play, like I said, the doing some of these creative activities, which would be a good time to do during this, again continuing from that gate 1 into gate 43, of spending more time maybe doing a little digital detox of, I know, who scary, taking a break really from all the outside information because I'm guilty of this 100%. I have this channel, but I'm also a line one and I have quite a bit of line ones in my chart. And I love the internet. I mean, it's like always there. And it can usually tell me what I need. But at the same time, I know that the influence of the internet, social media, all that stuff really dampens my creative and my individual voice at time too, because you start going into all that comparison mode all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have seriously contemplated getting rid of everything, but I don't know if I'm brave enough. I don't know if I could get rid of all the cat videos. That's my favorite part. But yeah, take some time alone, get out in nature, move your body, get some exercise, engage in some creative activities, journaling, scrap. Do people still scrapbook? I don't know.
I think
That was
so.
a big thing at the time when you were younger.
I can make it a comeback.
Yeah, making art, coloring, all those things. Good time to do that. And
Bird
it's
watching.
really bird watching. It's a good time. Also, another thing that meditation or mindfulness or contemplation, things alone can do, can help you start to tune in more to what is your own inner knowing, that voice, or a critical voice, which is someone else's.
Mm,
Because most of the time the thing that's running is that critical voice. You know, was it used to say the in the Course of Miracles, it would say, the small still voice for God. It's, it's the little still small voice. It's the little things that you just,
a little
it's
cat.
there. Usually doesn't whack you in the head, but a lot of times the things that are really persistent
Hmm.
is not a
There is
nice
one
voice.
thing I want to say. It
Mm-hmm.
happened last night, and I think it applies to this gate.
Mm-hmm.
But I have this little like paint by numbers on my iPad, so I was
Mm-hmm.
doing that, and Presley was reading to me about something that the state is changing with our car insurance. They're like raising the cap on damages for wrongful death lawsuits. But
Just a
what
little light reading at night while you're painting by numbers.
look, he was looking into it, but I was able to so clearly explain to him how so often first of all what a wrongful death suit was, but then also how not like see, it's not working, but I was able in that moment to so eloquently explain how most of the time people do not get the total amount of damages that they're awarded in a lawsuit. But
Mhm.
what's interesting about it is as I was able to so clearly explain it, is I was doing the paint by numbers the entire time. I was
Mm,
focused on that, but I was able to clearly explain what I was trying to say. And that doesn't
mm.
always happen for me. Case in point.
Very good. That is interesting. You got to give your mind something to focus on sometimes in order to get those thoughts out.
Apparently.
um, yeah. So also a few contemplation questions, real quick to wrap up gate 43. Do you struggle to hear and trust your intuition? What fears or beliefs do you may have that's preventing you from sharing your insights with others? What's maybe something that you maybe at one point had something unusual, different, an insight that maybe impacted others? What led you to share that? What made you think it was important? A lot of times these questions would be like, I don't know, maybe I did that, but if it helps jar some memories there, really just to help you make those connections. Also, really paying attention to, like I said, this piggybacks on that gate one. Are you taking in too much the opinions of other people and listening to them instead of your own inner guidance? This is going to be a big thing. Thing this month. Okay. So moving on the 16th, we're getting very close to my birthday, which is 4 days
Mm.
later, and I am a line four, so it lines up.
Oh my god.
We will be moving into gate 14. Gate
14.
14 is a sacral gate.
Mm.
You see it? You got it.
I see it.
Straight up the middle. You can see how we went one, we went up to 43. Now we're
43.
down,
14.
all right in that middle channel there. Individuality. Gate 14 in human design is called power skills, like a Power Ranger. I just love that. In in the I Ching, it's called possession and great measure. Okay. And in quantum, it is called creation.
Okay, all over the place.
Let's connect the dots.
You know, I don't see where they connect.
Well, it is the power, it's sacral, it's in response. It is the
Mm-hmm.
power to find your own unique direction in life and to be able to follow it and have the resources to support you as you do so.
Mm-hmm.
Because it connects to gate two, which is
Mm-hmm.
that we just talked about gate one. Gate two is that most yin energy in the chart, the receptive. And so there's always this analogy, image, whatever you want to call it, around gate 14 being the fuel, the engine, the drive that gives gate two, because the gate two is the direction of the self. It fuels that direction, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why it's called power skills or possession in great measure. Really, in the I Ching, it makes more sense. It's about if you have this energy to work and to do, and it's in response to sacral response of a yes, of like, yes, it's designed to work. It's the energy of being able to work because it's sacral energy and it's individual energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you are able to use that effectively, you can create resources, material resources. This is referred to as the gate of wealth, and that's the possession in great measure. They talk about the one book I have in the I Ching is like the image of like the overflowing wagon just full of all of your stuff. It's
Mm-hmm.
like very, very prolific. So this gate focuses on creating wealth and power and resources through activities that you love and excel at. It channels resources into worthwhile projects, the things that you love to do. It provides the energy for ongoing creative work. Now, if you think about how that goes up,
Mhm.
you can see it, right? It's like, oh, it's fueling that individual, that creative spark.
Mhm.
When you align with what is correct for you and what lights you up, it is the path to creating the abundance and resources that you're looking for. And what is interesting about this gate, because you're like, it's interesting, it's not in the will center. The will center is
Mhm.
all about money, material resources,
Right.
right? We talk about that all the time. But this gate is in the sacral, it's the
Mhm.
individual. But if we think about individuals affect people around them.
Mhm.
Same with this gate. It's giving you the fuel to follow what you want, but at the same time, this energy can help empower those around them because it is like the example in a way. And so the resources that you're creating is not just resources for yourself, it's resources that you also tend to pour into others. It's wanting to empower everyone around them as well. And
Mhm.
so very good at helping others find their work and their direction. And you can see
Mhm.
I get I get a little bit uncomfortable at times because I feel like I when I talk about this gate, it's like, hello, imposter syndrome. We've been talking about that, right? And it's like, well, this is my sun gate. This should be my whole experience. Like I should be living on easy street, right?
Mhm.
But also given that energy, yes, it's what others might feel from me. Like I can it's so much easier for me to help empower others and help them find their direction. But I struggle a lot of times. And I think it's because of lots of different things.
Mm.
But one, not knowing all this stuff most of my life, right? So I have a lot of conditioning that I'm
Mhm.
still working through and trusting that it's really just as simple as do what you love. And this is the follow your bliss kind of gate. Follow your bliss. Everything will be great. And so there is a certain amount of trust in that. And it's something I'm still working on. It's like I can so easily tell somebody else and I can see it like,
Mhm.
oh, this is easy. It's like you're made for this. You can do this. But it's my sun gate, but it is also in my unconscious Pluto. Like
Mm.
I think it's Pluto, Neptune. It's one of those. So it's also a little more elusive to me on the unconscious side. But it's something I am really trying to recognize more because I identify still at this point in my life with a lot of the more shadow aspects of the unbalance. Like the gene keys is really good here and working through this gate because, and remember we talk about how the traditional human design can come off feeling kind of harsh a lot of times
Mhm.
because it was delivered really to the not self.
Right.
And yeah. And so this gate shadow is more about not honoring your own sacral response, not honoring what is lighting you up, and instead compromising your own
Mm.
wants for those of those around you, right? And so you might find yourself, which in general define sacrals, find themselves doing things they don't want to be doing, working in
Mhm.
jobs they don't want to be in. And even though the wealth and abundance isn't flowing in like a waterfall, I have definitely made some strides towards trying to honor like what my sacral is telling me and
Mhm.
what feels good to me. And really for me, it's just I am still working through a shit ton of conditioning in my life about
Mhm.
work and what it means uh, to be abundant, create prosperity. Like I'm my mom was a baby boomer. I'm Gen X. We didn't have a whole lot of like we didn't have a lot of encouragement around doing what you want to do and
Mhm.
making that the path of life. It was more like doing what you
And
have to do, what you're expected to do,
yeah,
and
And I mean, you guys kind of didn't have the internet, which helps a lot of the younger
Hmm.
generations
Hmm.
more
But
quickly, less conditioned,
hmm
get to what doing what they want to love.
you're right. But also, somebody said this to me the other day, and it keeps coming back to me. She was saying, I had a nephew who had this gate, and no matter what, no matter how much money he had, he always thought he didn't have enough. He didn't have a lot. And
Mhm.
like she's like, I would watch things like wherever he went, like things would just show up. Like he would always find money here or this would happen. And I know that happens in my own life, that somehow something always comes
Mhm.
through. Like I
And
will
you've even
always
said
have the resources, even
it's
when
not
there's no
necessarily
resources.
it doesn't necessarily come
Mm-mm.
to you, but it may come to daddy.
Yeah, it
Like
comes
that you
through.
work through him.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the last, not last, but it is a big key that I'm working through right now, is the fact that, yes, our income has always come through your dad because I made the choice to stay home. I was a stay at home mom, even though
Mhm.
we worked in the business. I have a very short amount of time as an adult that I worked for someone else outside the home, right? And
Mhm.
so my job was in the home. My job was taking care of the family and the family business, right? So
Mhm.
even though I say, oh, I don't have all this individual resources, wealth, gate 14, blah, blah, but we also had our own business for 18 years that sustained our family. I mean,
Mhm.
it wasn't always easy peasy, and I didn't even know anything about human design, but it was a very unconventional business as well. It
Mhm.
was your dad following his individual nature and what he wanted to do, which was a beach business. Like, how many people came up to us all the time and were like, this is so cool. You guys work on the beach. And all I could ever be like, oh my God, you should see my winters. Like, we have no money. There's so many taxes and insurance and all the shit we got to do. And we're
All the
always
boats
feast or
break.
famine. Yeah, very much raised in a more glasses half empty environment. And so
Mm.
I am still working against the conditioning of, I've been doing it for the last several, many, many years now, trying to. I'm, I'm the more positive person usually in the room of trying to help people see the bright side of things and see the
Mhm.
other side of things. But within myself, it's still a struggle. I'll be honest. So I could talk about myself forever. So the melancholy here in this gate that is associated with it is about having to work or not, meaning doing the work you want to do. So, really, this would be a good time to ask yourself, like, what beliefs do you hold around money, wealth, and work? Do you have any internal resistance? Are you maybe involved in work that is not lighting up your sacral? Like
Mhm.
in general, are you in a job or career that's not doing it for you? And it's a very hard place to get out of, I think, at times, to go into this more creative thinking in the sense of daydreaming, allowing yourself to dream, because it is very much here in this reality. You might see one thing, but to really think about what you want to really be doing, and maybe giving yourself a little bit of permission to move in that direction, because there could be a lot of unnecessary stress and dissatisfaction in your life, like we were just talking about. We've made choices that we thought affected so many people and they would have so many opinions about it, but maybe that's just your own thoughts and your own
Mm.
problems around these issues with work and everything. So really think about, during this time, a time when you felt really fulfilled. Like, what were you doing? How did you get there? Was it in response, especially if you're a generator type? How can aligning with your true purpose help you generate the wealth, the prosperity, the power, the things that you feel within yourself that can help everyone? Because remember, and I think for me, there's a lot of stories around money and wealth about people who have a lot of it or carry a lot of it. What are your beliefs about people who have money? That's a big one. That's mine,
Mhm.
because I know default, I get very worked up about income inequality, all these unbalances. But I'm also like the first person in the room to encourage anyone and everyone to follow what it is they want to do. Like, don't listen to what your society or whatever has been telling you is an acceptable work. Like you said, we have the internet. We have the ability to create any kind of job. Have you seen the videos on Instagram of the woman who dances with her dog?
No.
It's like an Australian Shepherd. I'm
Mm-mm.
gonna have to send them to you. They are beautiful. Like, she's not just play dancer. It's like watching someone doing a modern dance, and the dog is an
Oh.
active participant in it. It's a very
Oh.
smart dog. It's like a border collie or something like that.
Mhm.
Like, it weaves in and out through her legs. It will stop. It will. I mean, it literally dances with her. It's the most beautiful thing I've
Wow.
ever seen. And so I do spend a lot of time on YouTube, and YouTube also creates ads. And I can't tell you how many ads I've seen. It shows me the ad for her all the time. This woman who teaches people how to dance with their dogs has created a job, a business for herself, teaching other people how to get their dogs to dance with them.
Wow.
Like, come on. Look, what world do we live in? Tell me there is not the possibility for you to do whatever you want if you can make a career out of teaching people how to dance with their dog. I think it's great. I'm not shaming her. I mean, I'm not
Mhm.
throwing any shade in her direction at all. But I mean, it's all just a matter of believing you can do it and then taking those steps and cleaning out all the conditioning around it. Let's
Dump
all
out
do
all the
that together.
gunk.
Let's do it together. We can do it together. Okay. So let's move on. Okay. On November 22nd, we move into a gate Haley has. She has this gate.
Whoa.
Well, you
Woo.
had 43 too. Yeah.
I
So
did.
gate 34. Do you know where that is?
Hold
It
on.
is your only sacral gate.
Nope.
No, you have another one?
I have 9 as well.
Oh, oh, Haley, we're going through your chart today. Yeah. Okay. So gate 34 is a sacral gate. It's the gate of
Mhm.
power, and this is the one that everybody agrees on. Traditional is power. I
Oh.
Ching, power of the great. Quantum, power.
Oh, okay.
And this is one of the two gates in the chart that connect to several different gates. The other one being
Mhm.
gate 57, which 34 does connect to 57 in the spleen, which I have that channel. It connects to the gate 10 in
Mhm.
the G center, and famously connects to gate 20 in the throat, which is that
Mhm.
manifesting generator channel. If you have that, you are a manifesting generator.
I have 34 twice.
Ooh, are they on both sides? Is it like conscious and
Yes.
unconscious?
It's Pluto.
Oh. So this power is individual power, and it is the three channels that it creates. One is an individual circuitry. The other one, it's also individual, but it's in that integration network. So it is very much like primal individual energy that is just for you. It's your
Mhm.
energy. It's your energy to when it's time to act, and the connected to the spleen. It's that intuition is like knowing when to like get into action. It's following your intuition and having the power behind it too. If you think about
Mhm.
the spleen was like fear and instinct and well-being, it'd be like
Mhm.
ears
Yeah,
prick
let's
up,
go.
ears prick up. I hear that. I am not going to stick around to see what that is. I'm out of here. That's what a 34 could do for you. But it's really it's a very powerful energy because it comes from the sacral. It drives your uniqueness, drives your self-expression. And they always talk about how this is very much just power for your own use. It's not available to others, meaning it's what drives you. It's your own personal energy. And if, like I said, if it's connected to the 20, it enables you to, in the moment, also know what to bring forth. So it's a manifesting generator channel because it's the sacral connected to the throat, right?
Mhm.
So it's
The
getting into action.
gunslinger.
No, 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 that's not the
Oh.
gunslinger. No, the gunslinger is the 1020. The 3420 is called charisma.
Charisma.
Yeah.
Oh,
This,
okay.
yeah. Your dad has this channel unconscious.
Mhm.
And I always say to people that have this unconscious channel, like if that's your energy is unconscious there, these are the people that will get up, move across the room and not even like their body a lot of times moves before anything, like in a response. So we talk about the sacral response of saying yes or no. If somebody has this gate, especially, or this channel, especially unconscious, a lot of times saying uh-huh or uh-uh is even slower for them. Like they'll be a quick yes or no, or they just like move. Their body will just
What
move.
is what does daddy probably hate the most is when we're taking too long to get into action. He'll go, "Let's go."
Come on, what are you doing? What are you waiting for? Come on, let's go, let's go, let's go. Of course, he's always the last one out the door too with his undefined spleen. He's got issues with timing. But so, anyways, there is a lot of independence, individuality in this Gates energy. You, if you have this energy, you do kind of radiate a certain sense of power, confidence, purpose, whether or not you feel like it or you do it, like people pick up on it. And really tuning into the fact that when you own your own power, because like I said, this is yours, it really does make you magnetic and attractive. It draws people to you because it's a sacral gate, it's drawing them in. So when you're living in a more high expression of this, you're kind of honoring that sacral response. You kind of just know when to act. You are really able to get into action in that way. You're very instinct driven in your problem solving. Quick. Your dad's that way, I think. Um, you may have a unique perspective, again, going along with this individual nature. Can be rather independent, especially because it's in that individual, but also integration network that is very independent energy. And I think there's been just one person I have done a reading for that had 34 like connected to like all of them, the 57,
Oh.
the 10, and the 20. Not surprisingly, she was struggling with this this balance between what others needed from her and what she needed. Like she was very happy to be like in her own power, really.
Mhm.
And I think from what I recall, I remember this person that was her like all her channels. And I was like, I'd never seen that before. I was like, man, you are self contained. You trust yourself, follow your own guidance, follow your own instinct. And that is the impact you're going to have around others. Like, don't worry about the outside input. Like, just do your thing and it will all work out as long as you're following a strategy and authority.
Mhm.
um, do you, now, like I said, yours is undefined. You don't have a channel. The
Mhm.
gate is defined in an undefined center. You don't have the channel, and it's in Pluto. Does any of this feel in any way resonant with you?
Not so much,
Maybe
but
when you're hooking up with it with that sacral, you said maybe through a
maybe.
transit, or when you're
But
around me, you have a connection to 57.
I do.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have to pay attention to it more. But I remember, I think it was a text you'd sent me, or we said it on here off air. I think
Mm-hmm.
how you had the thought that my since I have that hanging gate of 34, that's why I always run into things.
I think I remember that. It's like just like go.
I will run into door frames that have not moved.
Yeah.
I will run into them.
Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah.
Well, it's probably it's gonna since you have a defined spleen, I wonder if that makes it more of a pull towards, because the 34 reaching over towards the spleen would kind of also it would match up those or link up those energy centers, so it might feel more of a pull for you. I don't know where I'm going with that, but so the melancholy, this also has a
Mhm.
melancholy associated with it. It is the frustration generator of not being able to use your power in the now, maybe
Mhm.
feeling blocked, maybe you can't get it. There's something that's you don't have access to it for whatever reason, can make you feel a little bit or worry about it. So, anyway, so thinking, how can you use your own unique energy in the moment today to make a positive impact? on those around you? How can you protect your own energy? I hate to use the word protect because I always feel like people, when I used to talk like that when I was first getting into this whole realm of spirituality, like, I need to protect my energy, I need to protect
Mhm.
myself. And I felt, to me, it makes it sound like there's they're bad. There's outside
Mhm.
influences. People are trying, like, you're a victim. That's how I see it when they used to speak that way. But now I understand it's more like protecting is more like honoring your energy, like honoring what you need in order to keep your energy stable and
What about safeguarding instead?
safeguarding. I don't know. What about it?
Well, I don't know if it feels less bad than like it.
I like honoring. I like honoring.
Okay.
Honoring
I
your
like it.
boundaries. That's
Yeah.
it. That's a protection measure, is honoring your
Mhm.
boundaries, which also sounds like touchy-feely language, but really it is knowing, like, hey, this is what I have a capacity for.
Mhm.
This is my sacral energy. You don't get it.
Mine. Mine.
It's it is meant to respond to things that I need and what I want. So I'm going to protect that, honor that. So that's something to think about. And this also, like the 14, carries a lot of empowering energy with it for yourself and for others. It just has that influence on those around you. So there's a lot of things to be mindful during those days about how you use your energy. Are you giving your energy away? Are you keeping it, like, in pursuit of what's important to you? Those things.
Mhm.
I mean, like I said, everybody agrees. It's gated power. I mean, it's powerful. Okay.
Mhm.
So let's wrap up the month here with, on November 28th, gate 9, gate of
Ah,
focus.
bang.
Yeah. See, look, so you had 43, 34, and 9. Did good.
Oh, I
Neither
got a
of us
five.
have, one of us have the one. I don't have the one or the
Okay.
9. And so gate 9, traditional, is called focus. In the I Ching, it's called the taming power of the small. And in quantum, she calls it convergence. I don't even
Oh,
know what convergence means.
it's
I'm going to straight up say it's one of those words that I know, but I don't know.
this is
It's
like a. They
coming
talk
together.
about it in The Witcher, where all the planets were coming into a line, the
Convergence.
convergence.
Yeah.
So I think it's some kind of joining in a line. I don't
Well,
know.
it would have to be coming because it's focus, right?
Mhm.
It is about,
You
so
know,
it's in the
we
sacral,
have
right?
we have the
Mhm.
internet.
You have the internet. I don't. I don't have
All right.
access to it on
Okay.
Zoom
Let
calls.
me let me look up convergence.
Well, like I said, focus, it's bringing things into focus because it's connected to 52, which is that big picture. And then the 9 brings it into focus when it needs to get into action, like where to direct that energy.
Mhm. So it's the process or state of converging.
Shut up.
I swear to God.
Well, it's converging.
So converging of lines tend to meet at a point.
Mm.
Um, of several people or things come together from different directions so as
Hmm.
eventually to meet.
Okay.
Come from
That
different
makes sense.
directions and meet at.
That
Oh,
makes sense.
of a number of things is gradually changed so as to become similar or develop something in common.
Hmm. Well, there you go. So, as I said,
Two roads converge.
that's right. So, gate 9 focuses
Mm-hmm.
energy on the details, on
Mm-hmm.
systematic evaluation. Yes, you have this. Your brother has the channel.
Mm-hmm.
He is the mountain with
Yeah.
52 and 9, and the which that channel is concentration.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Every time I hear the word concentration, I want to go 64.
why?
That was a game when I was growing up.
Oh,
Concentration.
concentration. What's
64.
64? Oh, I
That's the
don't know that.
game. I don't know. I was
Well,
not very good at it. Hand-eye
so
coordination didn't work.
yeah, so gate 9, as I said
Mm-hmm.
a minute ago, concentrates the power from gate 52. So The clearest way of explaining it is how I had it explained to me is that if you imagine a bird of prey, an eagle or hawk or whatever up in the sky, and he's biding his time, he's just kind of waiting. He's looking. That's gate 52. It's like scanning the environment, waiting for that pulse of energy, right? It's there, but it's not. So it's just in this, it's like the waiting. I always
Mhm.
think of like the we, the characters bouncing. But really it's having an overall view, that 40,000 foot view or whatever. And then when it is called into action, when the time is right, it's like you see the bird catches its eye, it catches its prey, it sees it, and it knows
Mhm.
exactly where to go. It's like phew, there it is. And that's the energy between these gates, and what they do is they help bring it into focus. It can gate 9 can see the details. Gate 52 sees the big picture. Gate 9 brings it into focus.
Mhm.
Ta-da! And we're done. No. So obviously we have this gate, diligence for detail, know how to use your energy. Like you can focus your energy in a certain direction. Now you don't have the 52.
Mhm.
And so I don't think this applies to you, but it can apply to people. It doesn't have a gate of melancholy, it's not referred to as, but it is a gate of potential depression. And I know we talked about this once in one of our episodes about some of these gates coming up off the route there
Mhm.
in those channels. And it is a kind of a self directed energy of like restlessness. Like, why can't I sit still? I have all this energy, but I don't know where to direct it. Like, I don't have the big picture. Like, you can get like stuck down in the details and in the minutia and not see the big picture. Does that ever
Mhm.
happen to you? Curious. How about when you put together a puzzle? I'm curious on that.
So sometimes when I put together a puzzle, I will pick up a piece and
Mm-hmm.
I will not put it down until I can figure out where it goes, and I will stare at it and try to find on it like some little detail that I can then look at the reference picture and try to find on the reference picture. So maybe.
Maybe instead of maybe just setting it down and looking at what you need to find. And I
Mhm.
mean,
Mhm.
it's not a flaw. I mean, it gives you the ability to focus and to find the details. Um, but it can also make you a little overwhelmed feeling at times and struggling with prioritizing of like I said, knowing where to kind of put that focus can be a problem there. And so, yeah, I mean, I feel like it's pretty clear cut, Gary. But if you think about in the context of where we just came through with all of these gates, which is all very much your individual energy and
Mhm.
your expression, your power, your where you should be following your own direction, you bring in this gate 9, and it's like, okay, where? Oh, something just flew across your screen.
Yeah, it's a gnat.
It looks huge on the screen.
Oh, oh, he's on my screen now.
But it's like, okay, now the gated details, like, what are we going to do with this energy? We're going to
Mhm.
focus it. What are we going to do? Where do we need to focus it? So it'll be interesting to see where we go after November, but we're not going to go there yet. We're just gonna leave it there with gate 9
Hmm.
in details. So
Details.
So what'd you think? I thought you would like the whole like the theme here of it even we toured the spleen. Now this one definitely has a theme this month of
Mhm.
getting into the individual mutative nature of human beings. So anyways,
It fits the quarter.
it does. So as we wrap it up, you know what that means, Haley. What time is it?
The incarnation cross of the week.
That is correct, my dear. It is time for the incarnation cross of the week. So every week, just about one or two we haven't done, but at least the last year we've been doing this almost, I think. I don't know how long we've been doing it, But anyway, so we try to focus on one incarnation cross where, because there is 192 of them, everybody has one, and it consists of the sun and earth gates on both sides of your chart, conscious and unconscious side. And together, they kind of, since they are, we talked about the sun being a big part of your design and your expression in life, these gates create a theme that is really kind of the theme of your life journey, your purpose, whatever you want to call it. It is something that is going to be really expressed through you out into the world. And so, yeah, we thought it'd be fun to kind of just take one every week and do a little synopsis and leave it there. So,
Mhm.
so we usually pick at random and somewhat at random, but not really because I decided, you know what? Why not talk about it's a transit gate? We're going to pick one of the gates. So I decided to go with the left angle cross of duality 2.
Hey.
And so the sun gate, conscious sun gate for this cross is in gate 34, power.
Mhm.
Then the earth is going to be in gate 20, the now. On the unconscious side, the sun is in gate 40, aloneness. And the earth gate is in gate 37, friendship.
So we have power, now aloneness, and friendship.
Yes.
Okay.
And I would, well, if I point it out now or point it out after. I'm going to point it out now. So this is one of those crosses. We talked about it last week, I think, that does a lot of heavy lifting, as they call it.
Mm.
Because if you were to look at your chart, you'd see the 3420. Where's the 30
Mhm.
and the 40 and the 37?
The 40 and the 30. Oh, so both.
Both channels. These are both
Yeah.
they create channels. Also, this would you would
Mm.
know that this person is you would know a lot about this person. Left angle, you would know their profile is a
It starts with a 5 or a 6.
right, and also you would know that they are a manifesting generator and they have emotional authority, do they not?
Mhm. I got a lot.
Yeah, this person's powerhouse. Okay,
I have
so
half of it.
yeah, yeah, you do. I only have the 34. Okay, so if you were born under the left angle cross of duality 2, here you go. You want to find a balance between spending time alone and helping your community or family. You love to lead and teach, and you want to show others what a real community can be. Your goal is to build strong communities where everyone feels important and free to be themselves. You help people create systems that are fair and help everyone grow together. You know that a community works best when everyone is heard and valued. You see that old ways of doing things don't always work because they ignore people's true worth. Your purpose is to help people change these systems so that everyone's potential is recognized. You guide others to find a balance between being independent and working together. True community isn't about fitting in, but about celebrating each person's unique talents. You help create environments where everyone can grow and contribute. By leading and teaching, you inspire others to build communities based on respect and trust.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. That's right. Sounds great.
Mhm.
And let me tell you, they'd have the energy to do it.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you've got the sacral motor, you've got the will center motor, and you've got
Manifesting generated
no,
channel.
the solar plexus, the emotional motor. So it's
Huh.
like you got a lot of energy, but you've got to go in response. You got to follow that sacral
Mhm.
in the moment. So, and if you have that, Kate, happy birthday this month. So, with that being said, I would like to point out that if you look at the show notes, I have created something myself through my own individual creative power. And I've been working on it a very long time. And this is what
Mhm.
has been precipitating all these website changes and everything because it's a lot. And I just needed a change. That's where a lot of my creative energy goes into stuff like that, graphic design. I love all that stuff. But there's going to be a link in the show notes. I haven't started promoting it heavily yet. I've just sent out an email to my list. If you're on the list, you may already know. But I have finally ready to launch the Human Design Guidebook I have been working on, which
Mhm.
is a personalized report for you that is not an instant download because I do put this together,
Mhm.
but generally it's going to be at least 55, 60 pages that is all about you and your design. And it is a walkthrough of all the aspects of your design, including your obviously type, strategy, authority, profile, your definition, all your centers, your channels, your gates, and even your incarnation cross. Really, my take on the whole thing. And it's really something that you can download. I will send it to you.
Mhm.
When you get it, it's something you can hold on to as a anchor point, really, so that when you're following
Mhm.
along with all this stuff, or you want to know, like, oh, do I have that gate, or I have this gate, or we talk about something on the podcast, or you hear it somewhere else, you could always have to kind of dig through and be like, oh, that's me. And reports have come a long way. I mean, I remember my first human designer report I ever downloaded from Jovian Archive was like, might as well have been in Latin for all I knew. This is in clear language, explaining how these things work,
Mhm.
explaining kind of what your gifts are, what you bring to the table. And so there will be a link in the show notes for that. And you'll be hearing me talk about it more, I'm sure. But this is something I've really been pouring a lot of energy and love into. So I hope
Mhm.
y'all will enjoy that. And
I will say
mhm.
they're pretty freaking awesome.
Oh, thank you.
I got mine, and even though we do this podcast together every
hmm
week,
hmm
there was stuff in there that I was reading. I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah. Well, sometimes that
Finally
hits
made those
different.
clicks.
Yeah, when
But it's so
you're reading it.
pretty.
Thank you. I've been working on it hard. Um, but yeah, and so it does take me some time to put it together because, as we said, there is 192 incarnation crosses. I do not have all those written, so it will be part of the process as me, putting together the information for your incarnation cross. But it's not a big turnaround time. It's worth waiting for, I think.
Mhm.
So go check that out. And yeah, we'll wrap that up here then, I think. So, any last words, Haley?
Mm,
Nope.
Happy November.
Happy November. That's right. And we'll be back with you next week. And until then, bye for now.
Bye.
Made it all the way to the end of today's episode, so you must have liked what you heard. If you did, make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode, and perhaps leave us a good review. And if you know someone who wants to dig into all things human design with us, make sure you share the Human Design Hive podcast with them. We'd really appreciate it. Thanks for listening.